Hey everybody, it's Susan with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a quick and I think easy Stampin' Show and Tell card for you today. I wanted to use some of the celebration sets before they end at the end of the month that I have collected, and this one today is from the Amazing You set, which also has some coordinating thinlits that you can get through the celebration catalog, and those thinlits are going to continue into the next catalog. We're not using the thinlits today, we're just going to simply do some stamping. I'm also using the Designer Series paper spring foil that's in the celebration, and I'm using that as the background, so you'll see how I put that together. And we're going to do a technique where we apply ink directly to our card. So something a little different today. So let's go ahead and get started. I am using pink Pirouette as my card base. Okay. And let's just go ahead and get started. So first things first, I have my card base in pink Pirouette. So I'm just going to give that a good crease with my bone folder. So that'll be ready to go. And then I have my piece of Designer Series paper. I'm pretty sure this is the rose gold foil that's on here. It's kind of got that pinkish gleam to it. We are going to apply ink to this Designer Series paper. So let me bring in a piece of scrap that's a little bit messier. So all I do is I'm going to open up my ink pad, okay, and this is direct ink to paper. And I'm going to blot my ink pad down onto my Designer Series paper. Okay, so it's going to color it. So depending on how juicy your ink pad is, you may have to press hard or you may not have to press hard at all. And sometimes, depending on the color, you might want to let one layer of ink dry and then add another layer. So see, I'm just kind of going around and it's adding that shade to my cardstock. Now if I take a tissue and blot that so that it's dry and I don't end up with pink ink everywhere, okay, I'm just going to kind of give that a buff off. Now let's see how much ink it actually takes off there. The sample that I showed you, I actually did the ink the night before, so it had a good time to dry. So you can see it's a little lighter than my sample, okay, and you kind of get that variegated finish on there. So I'm going to actually go ahead and add another layer of ink right over the top. So you can keep adding color until it's the way you want to use it. Okay, the other way you can buff the ink off if you want to is to just flip it over and give it a rub on your paper. So let me do that this time, so I'll show you the difference. So I just flip it over and then I'm just lightly giving that a rub so that it won't be as wet to work with. Okay? Alright, so that's our inked paper. So now that is just going to go right onto our card front when we're done. But watch what else I did. I stamped on there. I used early espresso, something a little different than black, and I'm taking the flower from this Amazing You set. I'm going to stamp right down on top of these polka dots to add those flowers in the background. So I'm just going to kind of turn my stamp to alternate the images so everything's not going necessarily in the same place. So I'm basically creating my own background paper design here. Okay, so that is going to become the background on our card. So let me go ahead and put snail on the back of that piece. Now you do want to be careful not to run your fingers over that ink because it is still wet. It's going to take it a little time to set up, so you might want to set it to the side for a little while. I'm going to do my very best not to smudge it while I'm working on it here. Alright, so I've got that down and I'm just going to flip it over to put some pressure on that adhesive. Okay. So now I'm going to show you one of my cheater bows, and I learned this from doing swaps. So I have my spool of ribbon. Today we're using the powder pink woven ribbon. I don't have any pink Pirouette ribbon, but this is pretty close, especially with that ink dye that we did on there. So I'm going to take 3 widths of my card to create my bow. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to put a hole, punch a hole in the front of my card. So wherever you want your bow to be. I think this time I'm going to put it more in the middle. Okay. Then I feed one end of my ribbon in from the back side of the hole, like that. Pull that through. Okay, so there's one tail. And then I'm going to wrap the ribbon around and put the other side in through the same hole. So one hole and both ends of the ribbon go through. There we go. Move that before I get ink everywhere. Okay, so now I've got 2 tabs. So what I want to do is take 1 tab up and 1 tab down, like so. And then we're just going to tie a simple knot. Okay, and you can make that as tight as you want or leave it as loose as you want. And then I just bring my ends together and give the tails a trim so that they're nice and even. Okay, so there's my card front. So we've colored the background, we've stamped on there, we've put it on our card, we've added our bow. So now we're just going to do a tag. So I have die cut with my stitched oval framelits, a piece of pink Pirouette, and I've also done scalloped oval out of early Espresso, tying in that ink color. And we're just going to stamp this cute tag. So I'm going to stamp by stamping the word amazing, and then I'm going to place the "You Are Simply" above it when I get it on there. So let's see, it goes this way. When in doubt, stamp it on your paper. Make sure you have it positioned the way you want it. So I'm stamping the amazing word first because it kind of takes up the body of the tag. Then I have the "You Are Simply," and I've put those all on one block. So I can stamp those down at one time. And then you can see I stamped that flower again, but I want to stamp it very lightly. So I'm going to ink my stamp, I'm going to stamp it off, and then I'm going to very lightly stamp that flower, just to kind of create some of that background imaging on our tag as well. Okay. Now we're just going to layer up our 2 die cuts, and I'm going to put this on a dimensional, or 2 probably. I'll probably use 2 dimensionals, and then we just add that to our card face, and our card is done. So pretty in pink card for spring that you really could use for any occasion, be it birthday or a celebration of some sort. And a new little technique where we just apply the ink straight from our ink pad to our paper to create the way that designer series paper looks. And as you can see, letting that ink dry in between layers or adding more layering to it, you're going to get a different effect each time. So I hope you have some fun and play with this new technique and use those celebration sets. They really are amazing. And I'll see you again real soon. If you need the details, subscribe to my show and tell newsletter. Comes out on Tuesdays. Link is below. Or just keep following me here and check back for some new videos. Alright everybody, thanks and happy stamping!